What's happening, Millionaire Car Salesman? This is L.A. Williams, wanting to wish you a happy holidays if you're listening to this as soon as we drop it, which is Christmas Eve 2024, right? But listen, y'all, it was so crazy because I was getting ready to record this podcast and I couldn't find the professional microphone. Sean was out of town. I'm like, what'd you do with your microphone, right? But so I had to kind of get the job done anyway, right? So many times we wait for the perfect circumstance, or if things aren't going our way, we like, oh, well, I can't do it. No, man, sometimes you got to get the job done anyway. So that's what this podcast is. It's a audio picture of us getting the job done no matter what. So I hope you appreciate it. Information is powerful. Hey, what's happening, everyone? This is L.A. Williams, Vice President with Dealer Synergy and the Blindfold Master, one of the creators of the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. And man, I'm telling y'all, listen, first of all, I got to say happy holidays to everybody who is out there. Listen, look at y'all. I'm so proud of y'all, right? Listen, over the holiday daggone break, and you're listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, looking to get better. And so I want to reward you for that, man. I got a young lady who is absolutely phenomenal, man. She and I just been kicking it a little bit before we pressed the record button, right? It's been all good. And man, I'm telling you, she's a rock star. She's going to share with you some stuff that y'all going to need to know about, right? We're going to talk about public relations. She is right now the vice president, right? Just like I'm vice president. She's the vice president of account services with Montway. I want y'all to do me a favor and put your hands together for my girl, Miss Kristen Campbell. What's up, Kristen?
Hi, LA. How's it going?
Man, I am pumped up, fired up, super excited to have you on this daggone podcast to close out 2024, man, because listen, you about to help some folks today. I'm telling you that much.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here and talk with you and share some of my knowledge.
Yeah, this is gonna be cool. All right, so one of the things, like I said, I told the folks that you're working with Montway right now, but before that, right, you graduated from college and you were doing some public relations stuff and all that kind of stuff. But I always tell folks that listen, I know usually people don't grow up and say, "Mommy, Daddy, I want to be in the automotive industry," but your story might be a little bit different because you grew up in Detroit, like you grew up in Michigan, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did.
So
Yeah.
tell us about how that worked. Because see, the rest of us outside, like in PA and California and stuff, we grew up and say we want to be something else, but y'all kind of grow up with a little bit of a different mindset. You gonna break it down for us?
Yeah. So, being born and raised and living in Michigan, in the Metro Detroit area specifically, the auto industry, it's at the heart of everyday life here. So, it's a part of the culture. And yeah, I mean, graduating from college with my bachelor's degree in public relations during a recession, I'm thinking like, what jobs are going to be out there. So maybe there's a possibility of getting into the automotive industry just because of how prevalent it is here and where I live.
Nice, pretty cool. All right, so again, like I've been proven wrong, ladies and gentlemen. There are some people that go, "Oh, I'm gonna grow up and be in the automotive industry," right? So I finally found her right at the end of 2024. So this is super exciting. So all right, so talk to us about it. So you're feeling like, hey, you know what? I might end up working at a car dealership, but you got a degree. What's your degree? Is it in public relations specifically?
It is. It's in public
Okay.
relations. Yes. Yeah.
All right. And then what did you start doing like immediately after college? What put money in your pocket then?
Yeah. So, in, gosh, I don't want to date myself, but we had a recession.
It's okay.
We had a recession about 15 or so years ago. And I thought, well, let me talk to some friends like most college students do and say, who's working where and what companies are hiring at the end of the day. And
Right.
Enterprise Rent-A-Car was one that had just started hiring again. So I applied for the management training program. I did have friends that worked there and, they, like you said, they said it pays the bills. So I worked there for about 11 years and evolved my career there. And then about 3 years ago, I decided to make a change and I've been here at Montway for the last 3 years.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So wow. So all right. So because to me that's like because everybody wants to grow up and but everybody wants to be somebody, right? And usually, people want titles and all that kind of stuff. I know it's not important to everybody, but so a lot of people, that's something that's pretty cool. So for you to kind of get a job, right, start working with Montway, and then grow to be the vice president, use the VPAS, right, vice president of account services. What was that like? What did they see in you? So I heard you say your professional journey, right? What did they see in you, and what did you see in them that said, hey, you know what, I want to work with this company, they want to work with you, and then what got you to be a VP like within 3 years? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So Montway was just starting to really grow their B2B division when I started 3 years ago. And
Hmm.
I was hired in to manage their largest customer at that time.
Okay.
Um, and coincidentally, Mike Trudeau, who is my boss, who's our executive VP of business development, was
Yeah.
looking for that person, right? So I ended up getting hired and was managing that relationship with that customer at the time.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I think I was able to bring to the table was just really the communication piece, um, that we were able to grow that customer, and then we needed to expand that to our other customers. So
Mm.
that's kind of what I've been doing over the past 3 years is, started out that with that main customer and
Yeah.
have evolved my role here. And fortunately, because Montway was, looking to expand their B2B division, I've been able to grow with this company, which has been awesome.
Nice.
And, super happy to have super supportive um, coworkers and leadership here that have supported me to this VP position.
Yeah, and a lot of them been on the podcast, so
Yeah.
some of our listeners they kind of know some of them folks, right? So that's pretty cool. So I just kind of want to talk really quickly about your core competency of public relations, right? Because obviously, when you came in there and you were working with that particular client, right, there was something about you that they liked. You got you got a pizzazz to you, Chris. And I don't know if you know, right, but you got a certain pizzazz to you that's very attractive to the public, and a lot of my listeners, right, the millionaire car salesman, that's what they want and need, right? They want to. How do I get in front of the public? How can I be more out there? I always say that you want to be the kind of person that people say yes to before they even know what the opportunity is, right? Like regardless of what the situation is, it doesn't matter if let's just say Elon Musk called you and said, hey, meet me downtown in an hour. I got an opportunity for you. You can be like, okay, right? You don't even need to know what it is, right? But just
Yeah.
because he is who he is, right? And so that's who we want to be as salespeople, right? Just the kind of person that people want to work with, want to do business with, want to be seen with, right? Even before they realize that you sell cars, right? So can you break down what are some of the secrets that folks need to know, right? Some of the you know how people just they think they
Yeah.
know stuff about public relations, but they really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of already touched on it. When I envision, how do we want to treat our customers? I think of
Mm-hmm.
myself as the customer, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I see as a customer so many options that are in whatever industry it might be.
Mm-hmm.
So I choose as the consumer, where do I want to spend my time? Where do I want to spend my money? Because I work hard
Mm-hmm.
for my money, and so does
Right.
everybody else, right? So I
Yeah.
want to spend my money with some company that I believe in and that, ultimately I trust.
Yeah.
So, I like to approach how we serve our customers and even our transportation carriers in that same way.
Mm.
Um, I think at the end of the day, it goes back to treating others how you want to be treated. That's the
Mm-hmm.
golden rule.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think it's a great one because those are the scenarios if something goes wrong, which we know times, there's going to be times where things don't go smoothly,
Right.
something happens. And how do you overcome those challenges with your customers? And like I said, ultimately, I think it's being able to communicate transparently to then that building that trust with that customer, so that ultimately you're an advocate for them, right?
Yeah.
You will build that partnership, and you take it from there. I think once you are able to do that, you know, you have the base for many doors to be open and a long-term partnership with that customer.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I understand where you come from, and it just sounds like you're speaking from a deep place, right? It sounds like you're talking about like from real experience, right? So, can you kind of just tap us into some of that? Like, I know you probably deal with some in the automotive industry, outside the automotive industry, and all that good stuff, right? These things that you've dealt with, like, what maybe you could tell about some negative things that you've dealt with that you're like, I'm not treating my customers like that, and nobody who I work with is gonna get treated that way, or some positive stuff, whatever you want to share.
Yeah. Um, so I mean, like I mentioned, things happen, right? And so I guess one example of a scenario where we don't like to have these things happen, but they do in the transportation industry. When our
Hmm.
customers experience accidents with their vehicles as they're being transported,
Hmm.
we go above and beyond from a proactive standpoint to also a reactive standpoint to make our customers whole again. We try again to do what would be best for them. And
Hmm.
sometimes, that might hurt. You might not want to stroke a check, but you have to do
Right.
it. So,
Yeah.
and that's a common one, and unfortunately, but that's one that is one of those situations you have to overcome. I think from a positive standpoint, and something that, I'd like dealers to understand and know that Montway is a company that puts their money where their mouth is. We have recently created a team that is fully vested in dealer business. So they basically have a dedicated phone number, whether, they have a question or they have a change to something. This dedicated team just goes above and beyond from a service level,
Right.
just specifically for our dealer customers. And the reason that we've done that is because we've grown that dealer business so much in the past 2 years that Mary Bartlett, you've interviewed her, she's been on.
Hmm.
Her team has done a phenomenal job in bringing in new customers, and we listen to what our customers want.
Right.
Again, that communication piece being so important. So, with this dedicated phone number, the dealers can text into that line. If they have a question, they're going to get a text back fairly quickly. I mean, I'm talking in record amounts of time, so that they can get that to their customer, because
Yeah.
ultimately that's the type of partnership we want with our dealers. We want to give them the information that they need so that they can provide better service to their customers. So,
Right.
um, I know it does sound deep about treating people how you want to be treated, but that is a perfect example, just to, give a recent initiative that we've done
Yeah.
here. And my team is directly responsible for that experience for those dealers.
I get that. I think that's kind of cool. And I guess I'm more so asking because and this is something what your answer is going to help me personally as a vice president of a company, right? Are you doing that because Mike told you to do that, right? That's my way we stand for such and such. Or is it something that Kristen might have gone through that kind of makes her personally want to do this stuff? Like, is it because of this is how we do business here at Montway? Or is it like, hey, I've been through some stuff and I want to make sure that people are treated properly. And I'm glad, because I went through this stuff, I'm glad that Montway treats their customers like that because I wouldn't stand for it no other way.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime that you're in a leadership role and you can, positively influence the, culture at a company as well as
Hmm.
the experience that a customer has, you're going to take those opportunities, and grab them and go for it. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
You'd be surprised, Kristen. Some folks lazy, right? There's
Trust me,
some
because
folks
I've
out
been there too. I've been there too. And those are the companies that, I'm like, ugh, not getting any more of my money.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point, right? So I know you, like you said, you've been through it before. That's kind of cool. All right. So I know we've been talking a lot, and I know a lot of people do know what Montway does, but can you just kind of give people, just a briefly, kind of quick, what is it? What exactly does Montway do? Like this company that you're talking about, what do they do, and how does it? What sets them apart?
Yeah. So Montway is, long and short of it, a transportation provider. We have three different divisions, I like to say. We
Hmm.
started off in the retail space and we still do retail business, customers that want to move their personal vehicles from point A to point B. I live in
Right.
Michigan. I want to move my car to Florida. We also have relocation services, and then we have our B2B division, which is my department, my world, and the customers that I service. So that's kind of the long and short of it. And I mean, I think
Yeah.
what sets us apart is kind of the stuff we've already talked about, the people that we have at Montway. Again, you've talked to some of those people, and I
Hmm.
think that we really do have the type of people that are going to go above and beyond,
Yeah.
and they're great to work with, right? I mean, you want to work with fun people, and we have that here, so it's a good culture.
Yeah, and we always talk about it here at Dealer Synergy. We talk to the car dealers about how it's about people, process, products, promotions, right? But the number
Hmm.
one thing is people, right? Because you could have the same processes as another company, another dealership. You could have the same products. You could even have the same promotion, but there's zero possible. You can't have the same exact people, right? It's just like that's going to be your differentiator. So you're absolutely right, and that's why I'm glad. I mean, if you haven't heard some of the past episodes with Dave and Mary and just all the folks like hang out with us for a little while, right? Because
Yeah,
it is a fun company. We don't just partner up with everybody, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
you got to be
exactly.
you got to be a certain type of caliber individual to kind of hang out with us.
The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is on your radio.
This episode is brought to you by Podium. Here's a question. How much would your business change if you had one more employee who worked 24/7 to turn every lead, including the ones that come in after hours, into a test drive, sale, and more money for your dealership? Meet Jerry, Podium's new AI BDC. Jerry is a lead conversion powerhouse designed to respond instantly to every incoming lead, to answer questions accurately, keep leads warm, and schedule test drives, all without direct human supervision. And the best part, with a seamless handoff to staff on the sales floor, customers will never know they were interacting with an AI to begin with. See how Podium's AI BDC can help you sell more cars by visiting podium.com/MCS. That's podium.com/MCS, or click the link in the show notes below.
So real quick, a lot of we always said our very first season, right? I was like, welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, right? The place where managers, owners, and automotive sales professionals, whatever, right? So a lot of our listeners are managers, right? And you know how it's like you got used car managers, you got fleet managers, and things like that. I want you to kind of talk about some of the challenges that they face because a lot of times we talk to the salespeople. Where I was like, even the last episode, Sean and I were coaching, salespeople. Hey, here's what you got to do, right? And we talked to the internet coordinators. Here's what you got to do, and the managers got stuck at the end, right? We talked to the managers, but I want to start off by just having a conversation directly with the managers and just help them understand. Listen, I know the problems that you're facing. What are some of the challenges that you see them having to deal with?
Yeah, from like a dealership management standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yep, like the fleet managers and all of those folks.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of talked about the accidents that can happen, right? And those become
Mm-hmm.
pretty costly
Yeah.
for a dealer. So that's one thing that, because we have our own claims and compliance team,
Okay.
they vet our carriers and the insurance prior to transporting any vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
which really helps out because when an accident does occur, there's less delays. And then I have a team of account coordinators and account managers that help to be that liaison for
Right.
that manager, so that they can get paid back on that damage, and ultimately they need to get that car to the end customer if they
Yeah.
can, so
Hmm.
so yeah, we help to move things faster, which I think saves them a lot of time. I think in general too, competition, like we talked about earlier, like there's just so many options out there, and you want to work with people ultimately, like I said, that are going to treat your customers, or you're the customer in that seat, right?
Yeah.
So, how do we do that is just by giving transparency about Montway's performance. So one of the things that my team does, like our account management team, they provide the data and the performance behind how quickly we can move a car from point A to point B. So,
Mm.
so I think that's really cool, because then you can be informed about, hey, is this vendor like actually performing, or
Right.
what's happening with these moves? And if you can kind of see, okay, well, yeah, they're getting the cars there in 3 days or in 5 days, depending on the number of miles the car is moving, that helps you again with your customers and your service levels. So I think that's a really cool thing as well, to
Yeah.
be able to help. And then lastly, I mean, so Montway has a sister company, that's kind of our technology side of things. And
Hmm.
with that, we have some different services that we provide. One is a portal that dealers can input their orders through.
Is this
It's called
the map thing I heard about?
Yes, sir. You
Oh,
got
okay.
it. You are so educated on Montway. Um, yeah, so this map portal, it actually, once the dealers put in that information, it comes to my team and they take a look at it and say, okay, like what do we need to do next, kind of a thing. And they're then the advocates for that dealer to make sure that those vehicles are moving, in record time. And that just improves the efficiency, and ultimately, like we talked about, it saves time for the manager, right? So they don't have to worry about that transportation piece and managing through that on their end. We handle it
Yeah.
for them.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. And so I know a lot of times, I talk to these managers and things like that, and they're like, LA, I just want to pay less, right? I want to reduce costs, right? It's that whole thing. Of course, I think they want to enhance the customer experience, but sometimes, and I always talk about how that needs to be more of a priority, and it's not so much just like an after the fact type of thought process. You see what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
so I think that, yeah, we gotta save money, right? But we also got to make sure that we create a really good customer experience, and then we got to be efficient, right? Because think about it, everyone wants to save time. You know what I'm saying? I'm 43 years old. I ain't never met a person that told me they had too much time. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, listen, especially not in our industry, right? Everything's
Hmm.
moving fast and all that different kind of stuff. So I mean, you just kind of laid out some stuff, but what are some of the things that people can do to kind of help to be even more efficient, right, with their time and create a better customer experience and save them some money?
Yeah, I think the last piece for us that we really haven't talked about as much is communication.
Mm.
So, communicating what your needs are as the dealer, it is super, super important. Um, I know when we start off, a new relationship with a dealer, we ask them probably a lot of questions, or what seems like a lot of questions, but that's really so that we kind of get that information and then take the ball and run with it, right? So we don't
Yeah.
have to kind of go back, hey, what about this move? Hey, what about that move? Or, they don't have to constantly be calling us. Like, we really want to kind of front load and understand what we can do and what they're looking for.
Hmm.
So that, when we start off with that relationship, we, like I said, we can take the ball and run with it. So the more communication that we're able to have, and really understanding what their needs are and what they're looking for. Do they need the car picked up in 5 days? What's that window look like? That helps tremendously. And then I think we always ask for feedback, whether we've been working with that customer for a week or a month or years. Like, we always are looking to be better. And I think that's that really fosters that transparency that I was talking about. Like, I had a call with a customer today, and we knew that there was going to be some feedback there that we necessarily weren't happy about, but we took it and we said, okay, now here's what we're going to do with that feedback. So I think that communication is just so important. And ultimately, we want to please that customer, and they want to please their customer. So let's just work together to try to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And man, I'm telling you, the stuff that you're saying again is I'm gonna have my whole team listen to this podcast because what you're so for us, like, we have these intake forms that we kind of send out, and we ask. There's a bunch of questions that we need to ask, and again, sometimes it's like we don't get that information, so or we don't get it in such a timely fashion. So, are these conversations that you have with them? Do you sit them down and say, okay, we're gonna have an initial kickoff meeting. It's gonna take about, I don't know, hour, 30 minutes, whatever it is. And I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, but these questions are going to help us to serve you. Like, how does that sound? Can you break that down for me?
Yeah. I mean, so let's be honest. I think that no one looks forward to sitting down for an hour and getting grilled.
Right.
So, we try to make it as lighthearted as we can. But it also depends on that dealer group, or that customer ultimately. Like, sometimes they don't have that much time in the day. So we might have to start taking, moves, and then we might maybe fumble through it a little bit. But then when we get that opportunity, there's pieces of the puzzle that we got to put together. So it might look different depending on the customer. And I think, again, that's, just something at Montway that kind of distinguishes us from our competition and just in the industry, right? Like, we really try and tailor the experience to the customer's needs. I think that's what you need to do, right? Like, you can't treat every single customer the same, because that's not the world we live in, right? So meeting them where they need to be met. Whether Mary Bartlett, she'll fly on a plane to the customer, or maybe she has a Zoom call with them. It's just whatever works for them. And like I said, I mean, we're eager to move the cars. So if we got to fumble through it in the beginning, we will, and then eventually we'll figure it out. So.
That's pretty cool. And it's so great. So there's a couple of different things that's coming to mind here. Number one, when you talk about your competition, I think about Slick Rick, but there is no competition because we are the best. Yeah. But I also think about, like, you're describing the customer journey even at a dealership, right? Because what do we say? You walk in, you meet, greet, and then you qualify the customer, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that qualification process, right, the best salespeople make it go as smooth and as seamless as possible, right? It's not like you're sitting there, like you said, rattling off a bunch of questions, right? It sounds like it's a conversational piece, or sometimes you're able to qualify the customer even before they get to the dealership, or as they're pulling into the dealership. You're learning certain key things about them because you're paying attention. And so I know a lot of folks think, okay, you guys are talking about this, talking about that. No, you're supposed to be able to listen through this, right? As a Millionaire Car Salesman listener, I'm expecting you to have a mindset that says, hey, wait a minute, this actually does apply to me, right? What are some of the challenges that my customers face? What are some of the things that I can be prepared for so that I can ask the right questions and make sure that they have a great experience? And when you talked about negative things happening, right, accidents and all that kind of stuff like that, we know that kind of stuff happened at a dealership. You know good and well you couldn't find those daggum keys because somebody moved them, and you know what I'm saying? Like, there's stuff that causes rifts in the process. Oh, the paperwork didn't say this, or this piece was missing out of the deal. All kind of stuff like that happens, right? So you're really breaking it down, helping folks. So one of the conversations that is all over the world, really, I mean, everybody's talking about AI, right? AI, tech advancements and all that. So I think I had this conversation in Michigan. This was it must have been like 6 months ago or something like that. And it wasn't a whole lot, right? So I don't know if there's anything changed, but we're at the end of 2024. Talk to me about how any of the AI stuff, how does those type of tech advancements factor in to Montway Solutions and type of stuff? And so you could tell us what are y'all stepping into 2025 with?
Yeah. So the long and short of it, really, from an AI perspective, is that's going to be utilized through our map platform, like we talked about a little bit earlier. And we think now, the functionality will eventually be there. I'm not saying it's there yet, but we can map things, no pun intended, out for the future to help with pricing. We want to be able to give our customers the best rate. So that's something that would be able to be built into that portal. And then also, just other tools that are in the day-to-day world of transportation, like lane planning and route mapping, kind of boring stuff like that. But AI, I think will be involved in some manner with this map technology in the future. I wouldn't say we're there yet, but I think in the future, yeah.
So like if you think about it, I mean, how many accounts, let's say do you work with? Let's just say how many, just a general numbers of how many dealerships you work with right now.
Oh, geez, you're putting me on the spot. Honestly, I mean, there's a lot of customers. I ran a report today. I mean, I would ballpark maybe around 300.
300, right? So then if you think about it, everybody has different situations, right? But then there's a lot of folks that got the same situation, right? And so the goal for AI, because people be talking about AI, ChatGPT, and all this stuff like it's really artificial intelligence, and it's not, right? What it really is it's a language modeling software, right? So basically, it just kind of it takes your question, it compares it to questions out there on the internet and all that good stuff, and it just understands, okay, these words go with these words, and it makes it seem like it's artificial intelligence, right? Which is really not. So what's I mean, now some of the video stuff and all that, okay, I get where they're coming from, but it's a lot of stuff that seems like art intelligence, but it's just a lot of data that they have that's coagulated into pieces of information. So I'm just thinking, like, what could you do with all of that information that you got, like you said, dealerships and outside of it? If all of that information is all in one place, there's something, right? I don't think it'll be a person, right? Something that can go, hey, wait a minute, here's something that we're noticing, right? And instead of just pulling a report, it actually gives us some super duper value, right? So I think that could be something that we could use going into 2025. So that's pretty cool.
Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is on your radio.
This has been the most in-depth training I've had in my lot of years in the car business.
We went from 60 cars to 156 cars a month in 3 months.
NAMAD, the entire Toyota Chicago region, as well as the top automotive groups like Koons, Lithia, and Norm Reeves have all used Bradley On Demand to train their team.
They're the most comprehensive training company I've seen, and they by far have the best support system.
Doing 50 cars a month, topped out at 80. I can tell you that the Bradley On Demand training will get you to the next level.
And guess what? The world's #1 car salesman, Cody Carter, shares his exclusive strategies right here. You want his secrets? You gotta have Bradley On Demand.
What I learned from Bradley On Demand is you can teach an old dog new tricks. I thought I knew it all.
I thought it was just going to be the same old stuff. It's all new. It's all fresh. It's genuine material.
Bradley On Demand is just an incredible power tool. Every dealer should take advantage of that.
Our clients love Bradley On Demand. We've generated over $12 billion of additional revenue for our clients.
Went from selling 75 internet leads to we've hit almost 250 the last couple months.
I doubled my income. I sold 21 cars for 4 months straight.
If you're still not enrolled in Bradley On Demand, you're missing out on the best virtual automotive training in the world. Enroll now or contact us for a free test drive of the platform today.
I'm going to tell you about a mystery shop that I had earlier today. Somebody called and, I'm going through the phone call and all that good stuff. And they were calling about a Dodge Challenger or something. And the last Dodge Challenger they made was 2023, right? So the guy's like, I want a 2025. And I'm like, that's great, but I kind of pulled something that he said to me because he said about he's like Dukes of Hazards or something. I said, but here's the cool thing, man, is that you sound like a vintage guy to me, so you don't want that that's like too brand new. He's like, yeah, everything's going into this electrical vehicle modes and all that. You can't even get like a real Hemi engine and all that. And I just had a whole conversation with him about it. I said, yeah, things are changing, right? Everyone's moving into this whole electric, vehicles and all of that good stuff. So do you guys are y'all thinking about that when it comes to like moving cars? Is it like battery handling or anything like that? How does the EV market affect what you guys do? Anything at all?
Yeah. The Dodge Challenger story is good. I like that. So for EVs, I mean, it would affect transportation from the pure aspect of how heavy those units are compared to, regular ICE vehicles.
Right.
So I mean, it'll affect the load capacity that the trucker can handle. So maybe just less units going from one point to another. But also, it's going to be the same thing when it comes to like the drivers still have to check if the battery is charged like they would gas, right? So
Right.
that's not that big of a change.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, we don't think that it's going to interrupt like the supply chain or anything like that, but we have had experience moving EVs, and I think it'll be, second nature here once more are actually hitting the wholesale market.
Yeah, they talking about that's all that stuff is planned to be in place by 2030, right? So we'll see if it actually happens, right? But we about 5 years away. We're gonna make the doggone thing happen. We're gonna see how it goes. But it reminds me of Apple, right? When Apple stopped including the bricks, right, inside the phone charger, they just give you a USB-C cable, but you don't get the little brick anymore because it's like just we want to save space, and they're like, hey, we can pack so many more, we can get more iPhones to your area, right? Because it takes up less space, right? So this might be the opposite thing because it sounds like the EVs and things like that are a little bit heavier than the gas car. And I don't know. I guess it depends because gas, I don't know how heavy that is. But if it's full, if it's not full, I don't know. I guess every little gram counts, So you just kind of have fun with it. So when you think about, again, we keep talking about going into 2025, right? What are some of the things that are that Montway's looking at? They're like, hey, we're paying attention to this trend. This is the direction we're going in. We're going to beat everybody today. Like, because I actually was at a conference recently. I had Les Brown, right? And are you familiar with Les Brown? So he actually offered to write the foreword for my book, but Sean said he wanted to write it. So how crazy is it? I had to tell Les Brown no. I might have to get him for the second edition, but right for right now I had to say no, Les. Sean Bradley got my thing. But the reason why I'm saying that is because when I asked him, I said, "What are you excited about? You 80 years old, my man, and you've been doing this for a long time. What are you really excited about?" So I want to ask, Montway, what are you and from the account services side, what are you really excited about?
Yeah. For 2025, anytime we start a new year, I think it is exciting because we get to roll out new initiatives and, all of that. And we will have some, new initiatives like with our map system, like I mentioned earlier, and that'll have new enhancements. Like I think we're going to roll out a centralized dashboard, which that will help kind of monitor, transit time for moves and help to control costs. So on the tech side, I think that's really exciting. But in general, we are going to continue to grow as a company. We'll continue to add new business and grow, our partnerships and our relationships that we currently have. So, I think that that's really it for 2025. I mean, that growth will be exciting because who knows what will come from it, right? So we just focus on our plans and see what happens.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So basically what I hear you saying is to thrive in 2025, you got to kind of set a plan in motion and you got to stick to it. You got to stay consistent, right? Really what the challenge is. So many times, people come up with a game plan, right? It's New Year's resolutions. And by the time March get here, it's like, what happened was, right? And then we kind of, settle back into what we've been doing. But it sounds like, I hear you, like you guys are focused on getting some really cool stuff done. So I love that. Here's what I want to talk about, because, we're big, we're trainers, right? And so how do you personally, how do you train your team to be able to get a lot of the account services stuff done as the VP? I mean, you're responsible for making sure that everybody is successful. So what are the things that you do to help implement some sort of training with your teammates? Is there anything in particular that you do? Y'all do role play? Like, what do y'all do?
Yeah, so I would love to give you a creative answer here, but I think
listen,
honestly,
a basic answer is probably what we really need.
yeah. No, I'm very hands-on with my team. I do have some employees that are remote, so they're spread across the country. But I have some that are here in Michigan with me, and either way, kind of like we talked about with our customers, we got to meet our employees where they're at. So I schedule regular weekly meetings with my team, and we just talk through like what's going on in your world, what can I help you with? And so it's more of a hands-on approach. And, everybody's at a different learning point too, right? You might have an employee that you've had for a few months. You might have an employee that, has had industry experience for several years or, more. So I can't say that, I'm making everybody do the same thing, because I just think that you can't really, again, approach things that way. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of just one-on-one conversations, because again, like we talked about, we don't treat our customers the same. So it's very tailored approach. And, one account manager we might have to come up with a new idea to help this customer out, right? So, and maybe depending on, the industry, maybe that applies to several customers, but maybe it doesn't. So it just depends on, what my team is focused on at the moment. But, there's always going to be, like you mentioned, consistency. And hey, these are the 5 things, you got to get done every single day. And that's kind of really, I think you touched on it, and you hit it on the head. Like that consistency, it's boring, but it's effective. So that's, you got the big rocks, as I like to call them, that have to happen.
Ooh,
and
you spend that 7 habits language, girl.
Yeah, you're familiar with it. So those are the things that we're going to be consistent on, and then we sprinkle in the other stuff.
That is super cool. Super, super cool. Because a lot of times, we try to, talk to our salespeople the same way. We got to talk to our account people the same way. And we got to understand that people are different. It's so crazy. I wrote an article for Auto Dealer Today, and I'm talking about emotional intelligence, because I'm going to be discussing that at NADA at the end of January. And that's what it sounds like you're really using to kind of work with your teammates, right? A level of emotional intelligence, right? Something that we definitely got to get up in the automotive industry, right? It's just one of those things we got to do. So I love that. All right, cool. So it's like you've really been spitting some gold. You've really been helping us folks out. Like I'm even me and my company and things like that. I want you to kind of close this thing out by just telling us, what do you love specifically about the automotive industry? I know you work with other industries, but what do you love about the automotive industry? What makes that special for you, outside of the fact that you kind of grew up supposing to be in it?
You know what? I don't want to use a football analogy, because I'm really not a football fan.
Okay.
But the Lions have had a great year this year, and I think, in the auto industry, you got to be a grinder. I really believe that, because you got to show up every day ready to work, and you got to have that energy, and you got to have that mindset to overcome the no's, so I think that that's it, right? I mean, it's not for everybody, but you can be successful, and you can make what you want out of it ultimately. So I think that's what's exciting and what I love about it, and it's been fun. At the end of the day, it has been a fun last 3 years here at Montway, and I'm super excited to see what the future holds. So
yeah. Well, I can tell it's going to hold a lot of positive things for you just because of how you approach things. Again, you have a heart, right? And that is the piece that has been missing, in a lot of businesses for a long time. There's a lot of times people say, oh, there's no place for feelings in business. That's one of the most nonsensical statements a person can make, because listen, people have feelings, and business ain't nothing but people, right? So you got to make sure that you understand emotions and feelings and all of that good stuff, and how you work with your team and how you serve customers. It's unique. It's something it's not the everyday approach, right? Sometimes I got to do something that may be uncomfortable for me, but it's the right thing to do for the customer and all that kind. Man, I'm telling you, that's the kind of language that we need to hear in the automotive industry, right? So listen, just like Kristen and her team at Montway is going to serve your dealership in all of these different cool, positive ways, and you want to be treated a certain way, you make sure that you had them, customers being treated that way. And listen, I know I might be preaching to the choir and all that good stuff, because you are the Millionaire Car Salesman listeners and things like that, but you all have colleagues, you have coworkers who don't quite listen to me, right? You got people in your network, and your friends that work at other dealerships that really aren't providing that level of service. I want you to put them in front of a podcast like this. You go share the podcast, right? Make sure you like it. Make sure you're personally subscribed, but make sure you have other people who are subscribed, because this message and the type of company that Montway is, I said it in the beginning, we're not just partnering with anybody. You guys know this. There's not a whole lot of different companies that we have on here talking about this and talking about that. No, we're very, very select, and it's because of people like Kristen that we are connected. So, man, listen, I always say you're the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with, and you've just been spending time with the Vice President of Account Services, Miss Kristen Campbell. L.A. Williams, the blind master. Listen, it's your turn. Go out there and be a millionaire car salesman. We will talk to y'all later. Peace.
Fast response times can help you beat the dealer down the street. Get a tool that can respond to your leads in 15 seconds or less, and help you book test drives 24/7, nights and weekends, so you can sell more cars. Podium's AI BDC is a conversational AI employee who sells, schedules, and talks with customers day and night, and sounds like your best sales rep. Transform potential interest into sales today with Podium. Visit podium.com/MCS to see what AI can do for your dealership. That's podium.com/MCS, or click the link in the show notes.